Good morning, everyone. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and we have this line of storms coming in that we have been waiting for here, and quite the impressive line of storms. And right now, we do not have any severe weather that is going on at the moment. No severe warnings. All of these are special weather statements here. The one for our particular area for parts of Tarrant and Johnson counties, that is going to be for 40 mile per hour winds, 50 mile per hour winds, and the storm itself is moving about 40 miles per hour. That's why it's here a little bit ahead of schedule. It got quite the push farther to our west, and so that has kind of made these storms move ahead of schedule a little bit here. So just starting to move into far northwestern portions of Johnson County there. And this whole line is going to continue on to the east over the next few hours and take a little bit of time getting through. But like I say, it's moving at a pretty good clip. That helps our flooding issues because we won't be looking at the kind of flood concerns that possibly we would be looking at otherwise if these storms were not moving that quickly. We do, of course, have a tornado watch that is in effect until 7 a.m. So far, that has not been needed here. And so as we continue to watch this will move eastward and cover our entire area. So there's not a portion of our area that will not be hit by this. Everyone will be affected by these storms as this complex pushes eastward. As we go, we're going to be looking for little notches in this line. You can see one near Euless there, one near Burleson. I don't think those are really what we're looking at, but just examples. Little things like that is what we'll be watching to see if we have these little spin-up tornadoes trying to happen. That's the concern with the tornado watch that was issued. We have this increased shear, and what that can do is take these gusty winds along the head of the storm, the front end of the storm rather, this complex, and just cause those really quick little spin-ups. So that's essentially what they are watching for, what we're watching for in terms of that tornado threat tonight, this morning rather. So this is what we have right now, and like I say, things are going relatively well. There's a lot of heavy rain, there's a lot of gusty winds, and a lot of lightning in this thing. It's going to be loud. It's going to make its statement as it comes through, but we're not looking at any severe weather for the moment. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we are looking right now for the moment. So really, things are going fairly well considering the possibilities, that we had. Of course, this is getting really close to the radar here, so it's kind of hard to see, but at the moment, I don't see anything that really concerns me about rotation here, at least not for our area, and so not really too terribly concerned about that. You can see Terry, my beautiful wife, is awake, which unfortunately is not that abnormal. She is very much the night owl. I can tell you, I don't think I've been this exhausted in a very long time. I was hoping to get some sleep, but as soon as I settled down to start kind of winding down, the power went out, and I had to make sure the power went back on, or that I had a contingency plan in place if the power didn't come on by this point. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting some kind of rest later on today, Sunday, now that we have cracked the midnight hour. So definitely looking forward to getting some kind of rest here at some point. But no rest right now as we have these storms coming through. But like I say, we only have a special weather statement right now. No tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, only that tornado watch until 7 a.m., which may very well end up being canceled early if we can get this line out of here quick enough, which it looks like we might, because it is ahead of schedule at this point. I mean, it's 3 a.m., it's already moving in, already pushing through the Metroplex here, so we may be able to get this through. And the other good news is, if we can get it through here, work over the atmosphere, get this energy out of our area, push it farther east, that could help to push the severe weather possibilities farther east for this afternoon as well. So that's kind of where we are seeing things possibly go as we get to I would say the next few days or the next several hours. Again, I am exhausted, so I apologize if I mumble and don't make a lot of sense. As we put this back into motion, you can kind of see that the front end of this is starting to kind of fortify a little bit. And you can see that there's just this ever so slight little bit of outflow out ahead of the storm. That does kind of help to keep the severity in check here. A couple of things I'll say, but at first is it does kind of keep that severity in check because it pulls out ahead of the storm and it kind of cuts off that inflow a little bit and kind of stabilizes the air right ahead of the storm. So that could work in our favor. What may not work in our favor is where we have that outflow coming through, is sometimes that will recycle the line and then that becomes severe all over again. So, positives and negatives, benefits and drawbacks as we look at all of this. But we will continue to monitor all of this, of course, as we go through the next few hours as this moves in. So nothing concerning on this line at the moment. Now, I will say, farther over to the east here around Stephenville, not near as much movement or displacement at least. You can see this line is moving fairly well from northwest to southeast, but back over into Stephenville, Erath County, I'm a little more concerned about flooding there because that's not moving out as well. It's just kind of, training to the northeast. So hopefully we can continue to move this through and we won't have to look at these kinds of flooding concerns because we've had plenty of flooding in our area, especially in the Ennis area there and other parts of our region. So let's definitely hope for that we continue to move these storms forward, move them through so that we don't have to deal with all of that. So we can do without, I think, all of the flooding concerns. And just a handful of us right now on the stream, but I can guarantee you as this starts making noise throughout the area, folks will be waking up, I'm fairly certain. We will see those numbers grow as we get a little closer in here. You can see that line making its way right into Johnson County there, already moved into downtown Fort Worth, moving right towards DFW there, and moving into Somerville County there. The wind's just beginning to pick up and just seeing that lightning strike right ahead of that line there too. That's the other thing is lightning may not wait for the line to get to you. It can get ahead of it. And so we'll continue to monitor that as that progresses. And a question is, what time should it be out of Johnson County? I'm not sure. I'm curious to see what happens here because, again, we're looking at a part of the line where we have some forward movement, but behind it, back here in Erath County, it's not moving much. And so I'm not sure how much of that will affect our area or if we'll just be able to push this through. And to me, this is kind of an indication that may feed moisture behind the system, may prolong how long we actually have rain. But I think the heaviest part of this will continue to move at a pretty decent pace. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, we have a couple of hours of thunderstorms and then it's, the heaviest stuff at least is moving out of Johnson County. It's just after 3 a.m. right now, about 3:11 here, 3:12, and that's going to continue to move through. I would say by 5 a.m. I'm sure Johnson County will be clear with that. So okay, so Erica Gutierrez, no, the tornado watch is for this line. And we're looking for things like that right there. You see that near South Fort Worth there? Those are the little notches that we're going to be watching for because the concern with this line, and really that could just be a distortion as we get closer to the radar there. Yeah, that looks like that's just a little distortion. This is going right over the radar location, so it's going to be harder and harder to see. But if we see these little notches in the line, that's going to really kind of raise the concern for those brief spin-up tornadoes. So the tornado threat is with this line. It is moving through right now. However, up to this point, we've been fortunate. It hasn't really substantiated itself. But we'll wait to see what this is going to do as we continue to move forward. And once we get this out of the Burleson Mansfield area where we have the radar, where it's kind of distorting it a little bit. That's why you see that donut hole there, that empty space. As we get that through, it'll get easier to start seeing those details. But unfortunately, when it gets right on top of that radar location, it's really hard to see that. And Nathan, you're asking about the broader picture here, so we'll do that. And so yeah, Nathan, this is what I was talking about. So down near Brownwood, you can see that this is kind of moving northeast and not moving, wouldn't be moving out as quickly. So you see this southeasterly motion, and then you see this moving to the northeast. Realistically, I think that we'll continue to see this line move to the southeast here. And then when it comes to all of this energy, this could pull in behind all of that and bring some additional rain behind the line. I think once this line goes through, I think that's pretty well going to stabilize the atmosphere here. So I'm not really too terribly concerned about that. And Troy, you said you're about to head to work by the airport. Not sure which airport you're referring to. I know the DFW is just starting to get the beginning of this now. And then aside from that, Love Field will be getting this soon. And I'm not sure what other airports you might be going to. We just had a special weather statement east of Brownwood, and that is okay. Well, that's presenting more of a hail issue, and I will tell you that storm near Brownwood, that's a little bit more independent there. So that's where we're going to be a little bit more concerned about supercell structure. So that's kind of what we're watching for. So that'll continue to move on to the northeast here, and that could be a concern. Again, it just kind of depends. We'll have to wait and see how this interacts with this southeasterly motion with this main line. And it's hard to call ahead of time sometimes. So let me grab the coffee here and hopefully get a little more woken up. And happy birthday, Hannah. You say you're in Denton. Well, the storms have been moving through there. Not really much to say other than it's a loud and heavy thunderstorm. But I mean, Denton is going to be clearing out, at least from the heaviest stuff, here fairly soon. You'll still have some lightning and thunder behind that. But the heaviest part of the storm is going to be moving out of there very soon. Nicole, you're asking, are the models showing a specific time for the potential storms this afternoon or overnight tomorrow? You're getting ahead of me here, and I'm not really wanting to look at a whole lot of models to this point. A lot of what happens this afternoon is going to really depend on this complex, and trying to see if one or two things happen. Well, really three different variables I can think of. One, does this stabilize the air mass to where it doesn't have time to recover before the thunderstorms in the afternoon happen? Does this pull the energy far enough east that we don't even have to worry about it? Or do we have to look at the possibility that it could recover quick enough, and we have to watch at that point to see how far west storms develop. So there's a lot of variables, even for this afternoon, Sunday afternoon, that we have to think about. And so I really want to wait until this goes through and then reevaluate things as we get closer to the noon hour to try to figure out what the afternoon might look like, because there's just so many moving parts. A question about a notch developing near Irving. It doesn't really look like it. That would be clockwise motion there to the west of Carrollton. Yeah, that would be clockwise motion. We would need counterclockwise motion in order to worry about anything tornadic. So that's not really kind of what we're looking at there. So you can see that would almost follow a clockwise rotation here. Yeah, not really too concerned about that. Scott, any indications of hail? I haven't seen any hail yet indicated in this squall line. So far, it has been fairly docile. Um, Somebody asking any tornadoes tonight in Denton County. Well, I can tell you for one, it's almost all the way through Denton. I haven't had any tornadoes. I don't really see any tornadoes being a problem there. It's hard to say there's going to be a tornado tonight sometime in Denton County. They don't really work that way. Uh, I can tell you the tornado watch does include Denton County and goes until 7 a.m., but I can't tell you, hey, there's going to be a tornado sometime tonight. And I know everybody's going to be asking about the tornado risk all the way from the Red River down to Waco. But I'll tell you, I have not seen any indications of rotation in any of these storms to this point. I'll also remind you, this channel covers from Dallas to Waco. That space in between, that's the area that we cover. I know we're getting more, statewide coverage here, but I'm not really able to go too broad here, right? So if you're asking outside of my coverage area, I may not be able to help you. And I'm getting asked about a notch near Godly. I don't really think it's going to be really hard to tell because you're so close to the radar location there. So you try to get my phone open here. It doesn't want to cooperate either. Thank you, Megan, for the Venmo donation. I greatly appreciate that. I don't any kind of notches or anything in the line at this point in Johnson County, especially near Godly, Joshua, Burleson. Going to be hard to see that. Jared Gilbert, Midlothian tornado. I'm not really sure what you're asking there. Obviously, there's not. We don't know of any tornadoes in Midlothian right now, so I'm not really sure what you're referring to there. So I don't know how to answer that. But we don't have any tornadoes going on right now, just the tornado watch through 7 a.m. here. Cleve and Susan Clark asking what time will it be in Waxahachie. Looks like it's probably going to be in Waxahachie, I would say, in the next hour or so. So between, around 4:30ish, I think, is probably what we're looking at in terms of that timeline there. And again, for those notches, we'll have to wait and see what this does when it gets past the radar, because we're seeing all kinds of weird shapes and stuff here. That's all distortion because of the proximity of the radar location. So unfortunately, that's one of those kind of drawbacks that you have having it right there in the Burleson area. Okay, and Hannah, you're again asking what time will it be done in Denton. The heaviest stuff has moved through. Let's just go up there. So it's the heaviest of this has already moved through Denton, and you have some rain behind that, but it's just going to be rain, a few lightning strikes, and some thunder, and that's it. I don't really know how long it's going to be raining in Denton. It'll be a couple of hours at least, just because there's more rain kind of developing behind that. But aside from that, not really going to be too concerned about that. Nathan, wondering if the tornado watch was more for the storms coming out of the severe thunderstorm watch and tornado watch area, because the storms southwest. Nathan, you're getting way ahead of me here. I think you're way overthinking this. The tornado threat was for this line that is coming through right now. Because, again, they were concerned about QLCS possible tornadoes, those little spin-ups along that. So I think you're way overthinking this tornado watch here. It's just for this line, because once this moves through, I don't think any of this will even have any kind of energy. I mean, this is going to pretty well stabilize the atmosphere, at least for a few hours here. So behind this line, I don't think tornadoes are going to be possible. I may be wrong, but pretty sure I'm not at this point. That behind this line, I really don't see those causing any tornadoes in this area. So don't overthink that tornado watch. Don't try to come up with some crazy, scenario in which tornadoes are still possible. If we get tornadoes, they're going to be along this line. Those quick QLCS, that's quasi-linear convective system, basically just meaning that straight line. It's going to be along the front end of that. That's where the tornado threat is. So that's why that watch was issued. Hannah, yeah, I mean, there may not be a lot of folks covering this right now. A lot of the online weathermen are covering the stuff farther northeast because they're going to go where the most severe storms are. I'm geographically focused, right? So that's where I'm at. I am focused on this area specifically. That's the way the company works. Um, Karen Doherty, I cannot find anyone else on the live for. Cannot find anyone else live either, and not even Fox 4. Kylie Capps over at Fox 4, I'm sure she's jumping in on and off. I think she just has the radar going, but I think she's popping in and out of that broadcast as well. But she may be waiting for severe weather at this point to update there. Hail in the Granbury area. So we might be still getting some small hail there. And the question, Brittany, yes, the tornado watch is in effect until 7 a.m. Um, uh, Trying to follow. And again, there's no tornadoes right now. A lot of people asking if there's tornadoes going on right now. Let me help you understand. These are straight line winds. And straight line winds are not rotating winds. Big difference. So just because you get strong winds, that doesn't immediately equal a tornado. Many different factors to consider there. Um, yeah, so we could be looking at some hail here in the Granbury area, so we can check that out real briefly. It sounds like it's probably small hail at this point, and that's interesting um, because we're really not seeing, at least not on the vertically integrated liquid, not really seeing too much about hail there, but getting reports of hail in that area. So, I mean, south of Flower Mound might be a little bit there, but I'm kind of surprised about that. I'm not too sure what is being looked at there. And I understand that, Hannah, like you're saying that, it's early in the morning, so everybody's kind of spooked. And I understand you're probably spooked because you're hearing about all the tornadoes in Nebraska and Kansas and Iowa and Oklahoma. There's not been any tornadoes here today, not any going on right now. So let's just, we can kind of take a breath there. When will it hit Glen Heights? We'll probably hit Glen Heights in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And so that's kind of what we're looking at here. So asking questions repetitively in the chat doesn't help. If anything, that's probably going to make me skip over you. Ask your question once, maybe twice if it's been a while. Odds are I'm probably going to answer it. Or, I mean, Glen Heights is right there on the map, and you can see the line moving that way. So, just relax. We will get to your area at some point. Really, the rule of thumb on this channel is if I'm not talking about your town, no news is probably good news. So if I'm talking about your town, then hey, it's probably not the greatest thing in the world for me to be centering it. It's kind of like being called to the principal's office, right? If the principal doesn't know you, it's probably a good thing. But if I'm talking about your town, maybe some concern there. I'm interested to see if we have a weakening trend going on here from Stephenville up through Burleson. Curious to see if that continues here. And all of this ahead of time is going to be, this is all kind of ground clutter. So this is the line. And so everything's pretty well going to be limited up to that point. And you can see the line moving through here, and you can see little distortions in the line just here and there in the Arlington area, but I'm not seeing anything that has me immediately concerned here. We'll just zoom in and look at the line. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything right now that has me concerned about rotation or anything like that. So that's not really not really a concern at the moment. I think we're okay in that regard. So like I say, no severe warnings at this time, just these little special weather statements that they're not warnings, but they do give us kind of a heads up when there might be more intense weather conditions coming. I mean, you don't want the drill sergeants to know there's going to be, you don't want the drill sergeants to know you. That's very, very true. So yeah, and if you're just joining, just the best thing here, and I know that the temptation is crazy, but if you're just joining the stream, the best thing is not to immediately ask about your town. Just hang on for a second, watch and see what we're covering, and odds are we're probably going to answer your question fairly quickly after you join the live. You don't have to join in and then just immediately start asking questions, right? You don't have to start trying to elbow your way in line. We will cover it. We will cover it here. And I know that we got a lot of new followers and that kind of thing. Trust me, I do my best to cover everything that I can. So just give us some patience, and we'll work on trying to cover all of this for you. I mean, this line is showing a bit of a weakening trend here, kind of quickly. So I don't know. We did mention that we have the outflow boundary coming out here, so I don't know if we're going to see that outflow boundary recycle everything. And so I think that could be the scenario here, but that's quite a quick weakening trend. So that's and don't get too excited about the weakening trend here, because odds are it's probably temporary. That would be my guess. I mean, a line like this in an environment like this, I don't think it stays weak for very long. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So this line is going to continue on, and we're going to watch this to see what this weakening trend does. This very sudden weakening trend that we have. I want to see if that's being talked about elsewhere here, because I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. Yeah, I'm checking to see what other meteorologists are saying. Yeah, so I mean, the chatter is that it's sub-severe, below severe limits right now. So I mean, we're in a good spot for now. So let's just kind of hang on to those that positivity here. That storms are on a weaker end of things. Yeah, I see a lot of people pointing to the same thing. It is on a weakening trend right now, but we'll see if we'll see. Yes, and the saddle train, you've pointed that out already. We've talked about that too, that the storm is passing over the radar, so that might be affecting it too. We've covered that, so we're good to go. we're all right there. So despite the weakening trend that we appear to be seeing here, still going to be pretty loud storms. And let me remind you that a loud storm isn't necessarily a severe storm, right? Severe weather, a severe thunderstorm is categorized, or the criteria rather, is that it has 58 plus mile per hour wind gusts, 58 or higher winds. I think that may be sustained actually. And then hail an inch in diameter or greater. That's the criteria of a severe thunderstorm. Just because it's loud and really, really noticeable doesn't necessarily make it severe at this point. Okay, I'm going back through and just kind of following some comments here. Diana, you're asking, when is the last line of storms supposed to come through this weekend, and what can we expect after this? So that's looking way ahead. Here's where I'm looking right now. I'm not going to get into a 7-day forecast here because we've got to get through this line first. I need to see what this is going to do. Once we get this line through, that's going to inform what may or may not happen this afternoon, so Sunday afternoon, right? So I need to know what this does. That way I can get a better idea what to expect this afternoon. And then going forward from there, we'll get into the forecast. Looks like there's some daily thunderstorm chances with a big chance coming in maybe Thursday and cooler weather Friday. But aside from that, I haven't really drilled into much. I'm trying to make sure that we get through the next few days. Let me see there. Okay, yeah, so just kind of reiterating what I said earlier in the chat here. What options are for this line? I'm not really sure what that question means, but I will say that there's nothing severe in the line right now. We just had that new special weather statement come out for parts of Dallas, Kaufman, Rockwall, and Collin counties here. And so there's nothing severe right now. There are stronger parts of the line. Looks like the northern part of this line from Tarrant and Dallas counties up into Collin County there. Still a pretty heavy line, but this part of the line here seems to be weakening fairly well. We will have to watch and see what this does, because I was doubting this line at first, but now that we're seeing this section of the line weaken, I wonder if that's going to make the way for these storms to come in. And these storms have been more severe, so we will have to watch this. We may be seeing a little bit of kind of on-the-fly change, because that's always what we do here, right? Some on-the-fly changes to our expectations, where the answer to my question from earlier may be changing a little bit, because we're losing that forward momentum of this part of the line. But this southern section looks to be dominating here. This is a little farther away, so this could change our timeline for a few of you. If we lose this southern section of the line, then that could push it off a little later as these move on to the northeast. So we'll be watching to see what this is. And yes, Hannah, the blue is the special weather statements. Kevin Morrow. So here's the thing. A lot of these social media and internet weather guys, they want to do the gamer thing, and I did that for a while. You got these guys. You got these guys that are playing. They're doing weather gamer style, right? And they can do that for 6, 8, 10 hours. They're sitting in a chair, they're chilling out, they're hanging out. But from the people that I saw, this model worked better, where I can actually point to what's going on. You don't have to try to find my little cursor around the screen, right? They've got these overlays with all this neon crap going around. I'm sorry, we're doing weather, we're not gaming right now. It just frustrates me when people are doing all this game setup and all this kind of stuff. And I've had multiple people tell me that this makes it easier for them to see what's going on, especially when you're watching on a little phone. When you're watching like this, and you're you got all this overlay and all this stuff going on. I don't know. It's just, I think that this model is easier for people to see. And in fact, I took my banner down. I worked hard on that banner. There we go. I like that banner. So, don't be jealous. Trust me, I don't really care. I'm happy with this. It's tough on my feet, but it is what it is. All right, and so I had to block somebody there. So anything to watch for in Alvarado? A couple of people talking about Alvarado. At the moment, no. There's a fairly innocuous line of storms coming through, fairly weak at this point. In fact, weaker than they were. And again, we're starting to lose this side of the line, this portion of the line. So it's starting to allow this section of the line, which could be more severe, to move in. So we're kind of watching dueling complexes here. We have this down here just moving out of Brownwood, about to move into Stephenville and Hamilton. That's going to make its way up to the northeast into Hood and Somerville and Bosque County, up towards Gainesville there. So we will continue to watch this move northeastward here as we move forward along. And really, at the moment, I'm not seeing anything of too much concern here for the moment. I will zoom in though, and we're going to check on just south of Arlington here. Try to make sure that there's no inflow trying to get in there. Yeah, I'm just not seeing anything, no kind of rotation or anything like that in the line right now. So not too terribly concerned, but we will watch and see what this second line does. And, things are good right now. We don't have any severe warnings with any of this right now, but we're just kind of waiting to see how things go, see if any of this will continue to, whether this line takes over, see if this line recycles. There's a couple of things that could happen. So we're kind of going to have to wait and see. We're at kind of a transition period for this whole complex, I think. That's what it looks like right now. Kevin, tomorrow, no tornado warnings right now. Just a tornado watch until 7 a.m. That's it. We have some special weather statements. That's those blue boxes that you see. But yeah, there's not any kind of tornado warnings or really severe warnings of any kind right now in any of this activity. So I mean, yeah, we're good to go. And I love how these guys. So and people are trying to say that I'm jealous of the whole gamer thing. Hey, I mean, I could do that if I want. I've got the chair, I've got the microphone, I've got the whole setup. I just prefer to do it this way. Easier for me, easier for them. Hey, it works. So Kevin Morrow, give me 1 second. I'll get to that. Nathan, it'll probably hit Waxahachie. Looks like we're still moving this along here, but not as quickly. Assuming we get this line in here, it's probably going to be in Waxahachie in the next 45 minutes to an hour, probably. But again, I'm kind of waiting to see what this does. Kevin Oro, you're asking if it's going to ramp up today. I don't really know yet. Once we get all of this activity through here, we will continue to see, how this progresses and what, for one, if the atmosphere is able to recover before all of that activity ramps up, and if maybe that pushes everything eastward here to where those initial storms will develop farther east instead of closer to I-35 or I-45 here. What time does Dallas have tornadoes? It doesn't really work that way. There's not a tornado is going to happen at this time. I will say the storms are heading into downtown Dallas right now. There's no tornadoes in it. I mean, it's not even a severe storm, so don't really have to be worried about tornadoes there. And so we'll see that line moving in, and right now, no tornado issues right now anywhere in that line. So we'll get back into our core area and just kind of check in on what's happening here. So again, you can see this outflow boundary. That's going to be where the winds are, and I'm curious to see how that continues forward here, and we'll see if all of this continues to move on to the southeast, and if that continues to bring this line through, or if again that line down towards Brownwood, if that is actually what dominates and moves through. Okay, I was just reading a couple of comments here. Looks like we got a couple of bots coming in. Okay. We're just gonna have to deal with that. So, one, the storms are moving into Dallas right now. So you'll start feeling the winds increasing in Dallas here in the next couple of minutes, and then the heavy rain and lightning and thunder and that kind of stuff will follow soon after that. So realistically, when it comes to that tornado threat, this outflow boundary should really keep that tornado threat in check, from what I can tell here. And so I'm not really too concerned about that. Really at the moment. And Ryan, so I'm not really seeing a lot of bots on Facebook, mostly on YouTube. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. But we'll deal with those as we need to. I just deal with those from here. So these storms that are progressing to the southwest, again, we don't have any severe weather going on right now. Chris, thank you so much for your donation through Cash App. That is greatly appreciated there. So the storms are, so we're in the Mansfield area, moving into Cleburne and Keene here, and then moving on. So someone in Venus expecting strong winds at any moment. Worried about your trees that have taken a few hits the last few storms. Yeah, unfortunately, it's been tough, right? And a question about how fast is the line moving? Well, I would say about 40 miles per hour, but it seems like it's losing some of that momentum. So I'm curious to see. I mean, it still says 40 miles per hour. So this line, that's moving at about 40. And so, I don't really know how quickly that's going to be moving now. It does look to me, and we'll take another look at this, it does look to me like this line could be ramping up a little bit. We saw that quick weakening trend there for a second, but it does kind of look to me like maybe part of it could be that it's moving away from the radar now. Here's the radar location. So that's all that kind of disturbance and distortion that you're seeing there. Claudia, Navarro County Electric has automated a message saying the Waxahachie and surrounding areas have power outages. So I'm on Navarro County. We had a power outage earlier this evening due to the wind. That's been resolved already. So if that's what they're referring to, then, hey, we're good to go. And Joshua, thank you so much for your donation through the Cash App. Greatly appreciated there. Godly getting heavy rain, 1 to 2 inch an hour rain in Joshua right now. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of heavy rain with all of this activity, and those winds continue to move on. Going to be moving into, just moved into Mansfield, going to be moving into Midlothian and Alvarado very soon. Really, Alvarado any minute now. Then on to Venus, of course, there too. And Carlos Jr., large tornado on the ground in Mansfield. Nice try, kiddo. But that's not really how we do things here. That's not really the way that works. You can't just go onto a stream and just say something. Followers of this brand are a little more sharp than that. So you're like I said, nice try, but not quite going to work out like that. And okay, so I have a picture from Mansfield of a big part of a tree that's come down. So fairly strong winds in the Mansfield area. So that's kind of what we're seeing is the capability, at least, to take out some tree limbs there. And again, we're talking about 40 to 50 mile per hour winds possible with this storm complex. And so as we see this move through, we will be concerned about those power outages and those kind of things with the strong winds. And Crystal, you're saying currently out of power in Rice, and so that may be part of what you're concerned about in that area as far as the Navarro County Cooperative. Hannah, Rice is north of Corsicana. So Rice, Alma, real close together here, right where Corsicana, right where Navarro and Ellis counties come together. And so well ahead of that line, but we've had a wind advisory in effect today. That, of course, went out at midnight. But we had, 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, and so that sometimes alone is enough to cause those power outages. So that's very possibly what is causing that. Getting a report that there's winds picking up in Keene. Yeah, you're getting the front end of that storm system right now, and so we're continuing. You can see, continuing to watch where these winds are. You can see kind of this shadowy line here. That's where those stronger winds are, just moving into downtown Dallas now, just moving into Cedar Hill, Duncanville. They're going to be moving into Midlothian and Venus very soon, and then down into Cleburne and Keene as well. Scott Bartholomew saying that it's interesting, the lightning strikes have retreated more to the rear of the line. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think that it may just be easier to see that back there. But I'm not sure about that. How bad is this supposed to get in Bardwell? Well, we have to wait and see what the line does as it gets closer. It's still pretty good ways away from Bardwell right now. We'll see if that line continues to recycle. And Tanja Wells, you're asking about any concern for Lampasas, Kempner. That's going to be a little outside of my coverage area. We cover from between Dallas and Waco, so unfortunately that's going to be a little farther away from my coverage where I would usually cover for this page. So we gotta stay dialed in on our geographic location here. Let me go ahead and we'll check back in on this lower line here. I'm genuinely curious to see how this plays out. With this line that's about to move into Hamilton, moving into Stephenville right now, I'm genuinely curious to see how all of this progresses here, because from Plano down to Dallas, Mansfield to Cleburne, this line continues to move to the southeast, but we have this other line here, potentially a stronger line, making its way towards Hamilton there into Stephenville. That's going to continue on to the east and could affect our area as well. But the question is, does this line come through, stabilize the air before this can get here, and make it fizzle out before it arrives? We'll have to wait and see. One of those things where, we can't really tell exactly how that's going to play out until it does. See what some of the chatter is here. Not really mention of it at this point. Yeah, not really a whole lot of mention of one possibly affecting the other. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and of course we'll keep an eye on it as it does. Hannah, I don't really cover Sherman. That's going to be far north of Dallas. We're covering south of Dallas here, so between Dallas and Waco. I saw that you're new to Texas, so I'm sure you're kind of still trying to figure out where things are. Sherman is well north of Dallas. We're covering, again, between Waco and Dallas there. That's going to be pretty much our primary coverage area there. And Kevin Morrow, the line stretches from Texas up to Michigan. I'm sure this is a fairly large system, and so we're going to see this stretch pretty far up there. And Chris, what is considered severe with the wind? That's, again, that 58 mile per hour mark or higher. So basically 60 miles an hour winds or greater, that's where you get to the severe mark. So 58 and higher is the criteria for a severe thunderstorm. So again, let me reiterate for you that we are not looking at any kind of severe weather at this moment. No severe weather, no severe warnings going on. Again, we do have a couple of these special weather statements that they're not necessarily a warning, but they kind of let us know what is happening along these storms. We will check out the velocity here, and this storm is slowly but surely making its way out of the kind of this distortion here with right where the radar is, but still not seeing anything that has me really concerned about rotation here. I mean, it's possible we saw something there, but I'm not seeing the inflow component. So even though there's kind of a weird shape there, again, I'm not seeing the inflow component of that. And so not really too concerned about that at the moment. So the second line is appearing kind of east, kind of northeast. And I'm being asked about Royce City. Royce City is going to be kind of outside of our coverage area, but Royce City is right over here by Rockwall. So non-severe line of storms moving through. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. And you're talking about Plano. Yeah, that's very possible. Again, Plano's kind of north of our coverage area here. And I understand that, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is probably not very well covered at the moment. Ashley, thank you so much for your Cash App donation there. So I suppose I might, I've got the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, all of North Texas, to myself at this point. I don't know if anybody else is on the air. Let me check and see, in fact, if we have, I don't know if anybody's live in Dallas. But this is the whole line that we're looking at here. Let me just put this into motion. And I saw somebody from Stephenville. I'll tell you, I don't usually focus in on Stephenville, but whatever's coming into Stephenville usually moves into our area. And I know that there's a popular YouTuber that just moved to Stephenville too, so having content creators out there kind of catches my attention as well. But I mean, all of this is moving. Really, this line is moving almost due east at this point, southeast in our particular area. And then, yeah, this line here, this system is moving kind of east northeast. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And Ryan Stearns, I see the clapbacks on people saying, "What about this? What about that?" You know, let's it's okay. We're okay. I don't think we need to clap back at everybody that's doing that. Yeah, so that line to the south here, moving into the Hamilton area there through Erath County, that's going to have possibly 40-mile-per-hour winds with that. So it looks like that's what they're watching for there. And this line continues to move in. So we'll see winds increasing in Venus and Midlothian very soon here. Excuse me, that's what we're... That's what you're going to be experiencing there. And again, I've had a report in Mansfield of a kind of a shrub, a short tree getting pushed over. So, you know, that's what that's what you're capable of with those 50-mile-per-hour winds. And I mean, 40 to 50, you're starting to get closer to that severe criteria. Like we said, severe criteria is 58 miles per hour. So that's where we kind of start to see. That's where you start to cross that line, but it doesn't look like we've gotten to that point quite yet. And yeah, just the same conversation. It's just that there's really not anything severe going on in our area. So yeah, somebody mentioned possible that a wind event may start to ramp up here in Collin County. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're looking at it at a primarily a wind threat anyway. So, yeah, if you're going to get gusty winds, that's already been covered by that special weather statement. So that's definitely a possibility. Venus Fire Department of Venus Mayor Awaken Monitoring. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the you guys getting tuned in. I'm always happy to support our municipalities and our first responders. That's what collaboration is all about. So glad to have you folks keyed in here. Let's get back to velocity. And we definitely have some stronger winds in this storm. Now, the further you get away from the radar here, it can really start to get a little bit less accurate there. So we're looking pretty far above the ground when we get into Sherman, Gainesville, over towards Stephenville here. Really impressive winds in Stephenville at the moment, and I'll be curious to see if a severe thunderstorm warning is issued there very soon. But I'm not seeing anything that has me concerned rotation-wise. Not seeing any kind of really, really big concerns in terms of those winds. And of course, if you're not familiar with this, this is the velocity view. So this shows us wind speed and direction. The brighter colors are higher wind speeds. The red colors are moving away from the radar. So in this case, all the red's moving away from the radar this way, and then the green is towards the radar. Moving towards the radar this way. So that's what the different colors mean on this velocity view. Again, it lets us see, it's called velocity because it shows us speed and direction of those winds. And so this is one quick way we can see where those downburst winds are, the straight line winds, as well as those circulations. And so that's what we're looking at in terms of those winds. So nothing too extreme at the moment that I can tell, at least right now. Not any kind of rotation that I can see. Again, getting farther away over towards Erath County and Hamilton County, a little harder to see closer to the ground there because radar, it's going at an angle when it's looking out. It's different angles. That's why you have tilts, right? But even the base level is going to be looking at sort of an angle there. So it's going to be really hard for that to look low in the storm closer to the surface in some of those storms there. So that might make it tough sometimes especially in a QLCS situation, which is what we have here, these quasi-linear convective systems, which, again, that's what you call these kind of straight lines. And so we'll have to watch some of those to see if they get closer to the radar and start showing us better signs. Leo Marler, haven't seen the lightning yet in southern Waxahachie. It's still a ways away from you. It's just now starting to break into northwestern Ellis County here. So most of Ellis County untouched by this at this point. So, it's not really too much of a concern to this point. And we'll put this back into motion for you here, trying to find a good level. And we'll watch this line from Stephenville down to Hamilton here. We'll keep an eye on this because it looks like that could have a greater impact on the southern side of our area. Okay, so Debbie, you're asking about the velocity again. What's the green behind the red and yellow? Next time we check that, I'll see if I can answer that question for you. Is it good to drive from Blooming Grove to Ennis now? Yeah. Excuse me, Kim. I would go ahead and make that drive from Blooming Grove to Ennis now, ahead of that storm moving through. So you've got plenty of time to make that drive over into Ennis if you want to go ahead and get that done. So yeah, now is probably the best time to go ahead and do that. So for all of those that might just be tuning in here, we don't have any severe warnings at the moment. Not looking at anything severe here. We're looking at a couple of things, kind of watching to see how some of this is going to play out. We have this line here that goes from Anna to McKinney, down to Garland and Plano, through downtown Dallas now, just moving through there. The Cedar Hill area really getting closer to Lancaster there, and DeSoto, down towards Venus and Midlothian, Cleburne, and then we have this other line here moving towards Glen Rose, moving through Hamilton right now. So we have one line moving to the southeast and one of them moving pretty well due east, almost kind of east-northeast here. And we're going to watch and see how each of these affect our area here. Could be an interesting turnout, I'm not sure. But we now see here, if you look south of Glen Rose, kind of see this inflow here. So I'm very curious to see what happens with this line, if that's able to overtake this or whatever the case may be. But if we have more of this inflow coming in, that's sometimes when we have to watch for that tornado threat. We do have that tornado watch in effect through 7 a.m. Fortunately, at this point, we have not had any kind of tornado situation come up, no kind of tornado threat. But we'll just have to watch and see. And I'm just following the comments here, starting to get wind picking up in Midlothian, Venus, not too bad yet. Yeah, I mean, the line that's moving into the Venus Midlothian area, not really a whole lot going on at this point. So not really expecting too much, and that will probably be the case for Waxahachie as well, as this line continues to kind of make its way slowly and more slowly, apparently, moving into this particular area. And I see, Maddie, you're answering the question about, Juan's question about the red. He's referring to the velocity. That was a question from earlier. So we've answered that question on air, but so continuing to move through Alejandro, the Venus bubble holding for the moment. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but I think that you're probably at least going to get some rain and wind and everything out of this. So I don't think the Venus bubble is going to hold tonight. But this line kind of losing some momentum here. But there's plenty of momentum in this line down to the southeast. So, southwest, moving east at the moment. So slowly but surely waking up here. And let me see, let's go ahead and get this a broader view, kind of reset this. And I know that this storm event has had a lot of fanfare with it, a lot of buildup. The tornado watch that was issued, I guess time will tell. Time will tell if we're able to kind of avoid avoid any kind of tornadic events here. And I know that tornadoes are a big buzzword right now with all of the news coverage out of Nebraska and Ohio, Iowa, Kansas, and Oklahoma. So, you know, yeah, it's a little uncertain there. But yeah, to answer that question, we are live on YouTube as well. So if you're looking for a better video quality, I know that Facebook tends to compress their video content, and so Maddie, yeah, Texas Storm Chasers is another option if you want to go there. There are other options out there. I'm not the only guy doing this. I don't I'm not going to pretend that I am. But hey, if you want to stick with us, then hey, glad you're here. So we're watching this, but it's losing that. You see how that's stalling out? You see that? Really starting to stall out. Still got some motion here, but it's starting to stall out, and now we're getting this inflow here, moving northeasterly here. So it's a question now of whether we're going to see this system to this line to the southwest begin to really take over, and whether this inflow could actually cause more circulation there, cause more rotation on the front end of that, and maybe justify that tornado watch a little bit. But to the moment, we don't really have a whole lot going on here. Now, this line, since it is kind of stalling out in Johnson County, I imagine in parts of Ellis County it will probably slow down there as well. So yeah, somebody saying that there's a tornado watch for Keller until 7 a.m. That's pretty much the whole area is covered in that tornado watch here. So yes, that will definitely continue. Yeah, I'm just really curious to see what happens with this inflow that's going out through Meridian County, or through Bosque County, Meridian in Bosque County there. Really interesting to see that. So I'm really curious to see what happens with this line. I mean, it's possible that we could see that get into some of this more unstable air and really start to light up. So we will definitely be watching that very closely here over the next several minutes. And I know that Texas Storm Chasers, I think, Texas Storm Chasers has been pretty well going around the clock, but their advantage is they've got more than one guy. I'm it, right? So I imagine that there's probably some folks doing some shift rotations over there. At least that's the way it looked to me. So, hey, good on them, right? It's, great benefit there, I guess, that they're, able to kind of rotate shifts. I'm the only on-air talent you got here. I'm the only entertainment in town for this channel, so I'm it. So you got to put up with me, and that's pretty much all that you've got. What kind of coffee am I drinking? So at the moment, I am drinking. It's Drag Up Coffee, and it's the which one am I drinking? Is the raspberry flavor I think I've got? I think it's the raspberry flavor I'm drinking right now, which is pretty good. Somebody said I'm doing better than the Fox Weather Service. Hey, here's the thing. Fox, they started a weather channel. If you know anything about Fox Corporate, just in general, and I'm probably going to piss somebody off here, but if you know anything about Fox Corporate, just how they run things, they like attractive on-air talent. And everybody does, obviously, but Fox has a type, right? I mean, if you watch their networks enough, then, and I'm not talking about the local networks, I'm talking about the nationwide, Fox News, Fox Business, those kind of national networks, they have a type. They have a type in casting that they like to go with. And that carried over to the Fox Weather Channel. So, long story short, they had someone on the air that followed kind of this type, and bless her heart, she was trying to, I'm not sure how much meteorological training she had, It may have been one of these people, kind of like they do in California, right, where the weather's easy, so you really focus on who can present better on the TV. But she was trying to follow the graphics, and this guy behind her with a headset on a computer facing the other way is just bamming through one graphic after another, just boom, 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 and she's trying to keep up, and it's just not happening. So it was just insane. But let me get focus back over to. Get focused back over here. Looks like Texas Storm Chasers is stationary. I'm not sure what you mean there, Maddie. But are we thinking Waxahachie will get hail? It's possible. Hail is going to be possible with any of these storms that we get. And yeah, hearing the rain is reaching the Midlothian Venus area now. Yeah, I mean, that's where this is moving through. And somebody asking about Mansfield. Mansfield's getting a pretty good dousing right now with some heavy rain. But other than that, there's not anything severe out there right now. I will say I got that report of a tree having been kind of torn up in Mansfield earlier, but nothing really noticeable at this point. So yeah, I mean, you're still getting some pretty decent winds in Dallas County over to Collin and Rockwall counties there. And then, of course, we see the gusty winds moving into Hamilton and Glen Rose right now, moving towards Walnut Spring, or Walnut, I always get that wrong. What is that? Yeah, Walnut Springs. I want to get Walnut Springs and Walnut Grove confused, but you can see this motion here, this inflow. This is bringing in all this moisture, and you can see that moving through Cramples Gap and Meridian and Clifton and Morgan there. So this is bringing in some of that rich moisture. That is feeding these storms. So if anything, these storms off to the southwest, I think, are going to be the ones that start picking up strength as they move in. And Lisa, you're saying after last weekend's storm makes me nervous. Lightning hit the house across the street and caught it on fire. Yeah, and that would make me nervous as well. So I completely understand that. Asking about Decatur. Decatur's quite a bit farther north than what we usually cover here. I mean, we can take a quick look, but it looks like everything's moved out of Decatur at this point. The heavy stuff has moved through there, and Decatur should be clearing out fairly soon. Now, you see all these lightning strikes. There's still some lightning that is behind the main line. So just because the heaviest rain is gone doesn't mean that the lightning is gone. So you have to keep that in mind. Asking about what is the light blue? The light blue is the special weather statements. They're not warnings. They're special weather statements that can kind of give us a clue on some of those stronger storms. They're not usually put up there by the Dallas TV stations or really any of the TV people because they're not warnings. But I like to have them up there because not only does it help me, but the folks that might be in a certain area, they can see maybe when they might have a stronger storm. So really it's a step down from a warning to that point. And so asking about Cleburne here. Heavy rain, strong winds moving into Cleburne, so not severe there. We don't have any severe warnings at this point, so not severe in Cleburne right now, but you do have some heavier activity moving into that area at the moment. So just be prepared for that. Heavy rain, some frequent lightning, that sort of thing. But this line is definitely dying away in this area. And then as we get this new line moving in, this is really the one that's kind of grabbing my attention right now, because I do think that we're going to see more of this kind of falling apart. And I think we will see this line to the southwest really begin to pick up here. So I think that's really going to become our focus at this point. More and more, and we'll have to watch for, you see this little notch here, that's probably nothing, but again, little notches like that, that's kind of what we have to watch for. We have this tornado watch that continues through 7 a.m., and I mean, we'll have to watch and wait and see if that tornado watch gets justified by some circulation, or if we just end up being really, really, fortunate here. Not really too concerned at the moment about that, but we will definitely see what happens here. Looking at velocity with that particular system, you can definitely see where the gusty winds are, but I'm not seeing anything that has me too concerned in regard to rotation at this point. Kurt, I mean, there could be some small hail, but not seeing anything too terribly concerning here. Um, Question about the timing in Whitney. It looks like it's probably going to be another, I would say, what, 30 to 45 minutes in Whitney, at least. Probably closer to 45 minutes, I would say, before he gets to the Whitney area. Winds picking up in Midlothian. Would that second line follow the same path as the previous one? I'm not too sure about that. I think the other half, this other line, is going to move more kind of due east. So let's bring this back to just the general reflectivity here. Yeah, I really think that we're going to see this line continue on mostly east now. And so most of this is going to go north of Waxahachie, and it's going to be this line that we're actually going to see. So that kind of turns out that we're not going to see a whole lot of this line in most of Ellis County here, probably. It's going to be this line here. This is going to be the one that moves in, and looks like we could be sharpening up that wind threat here. So stronger winds could be making their way into Bosque County right now, out of the Hamilton area, and then it's going to move, excuse me, of course, into Johnson and Ellis and Hill counties and on to the east. And Troy, I'm glad you made it to your destination there. That's great. Christopher Rumland asking about hail and tornado chances, and Ennis could have some hail in these storms. Right now, tornadoes don't appear to be too high a threat at this point, but we can always see a quick spin up of a tornado here and there. We do have that tornado watch that goes until 7 a.m. here. I'm starting to lose the voice here, which was a concern of mine because I've been having to use it quite a bit the last few days. So, yeah, we see this this activity continues to move east. Yeah, Scott, and that's kind of what I'm saying here is it's moving kind of east-northeast here. And so, Nikki, fun fact, hitting the like button brings good karma and better weather. Well, I wish that was the case, but doesn't always work that way, right? So we'll continue to watch this, and the whole line appears to be moving northeast, but you can definitely see here in Bosque County, this eastward push here, that's where you're going to be getting those stronger winds there. You're asking Stephenville by Waco, Texas. I'm a little concerned, or not concerned, but confused, because Stephenville is here. Waco is much farther southeast. So not really sure what you're paying attention to, but hey, yeah, I mean, for Stephenville specifically, you're behind the line. Maria and Denton, yeah, I mean, the severe weather threat has left your area. So no severe weather threat right now for Denton County. Stephenville, no severe weather threat there, but if you're talking about Waco somewhere, could still be looking at some severe weather later this morning because we haven't gotten this line through yet. So not yet in Waco. Stephenville is done. Denton is done. So that's just kind of a quick plug for those places there. And Matty, you're saying if in the area of heavy lightning, make sure to unplug from your outlets. I mean, that can apply to some things. If you want to avoid, it is a pretty good idea, pretty good idea if you're not connected to a surge protector to unplug your computer and that kind of thing. Can help protect those. But, I mean, you should be on a surge protector anyway. It's just good sense there. Lauren is just moving into Venus and Midlothian right now. And so that's kind of what we've been talking about, though, is the line is kind of slowing down and stalling out almost as it makes its way into Venus and Midlothian. So I'm not sure how much those areas are going to get it. Duncanville safe. Duncanville, I mean, you're not getting anything severe right now. It's just heavy rain, some lightning, thunder, that kind of thing. Gusty winds right now, but nothing severe going on in the Duncanville area at the moment. Let me get this kind of back, better oriented here. Ovilla, you'll be getting some gusty winds here in a short time, But really, it's kind of hard to say a whole lot's going to happen because this line here is not really going to, excuse me, is not really going to make it much farther, I don't think. It's going to continue to slow down. Saline, Mansfield, you don't really have to seek shelter. There's nothing severe going on in our area right now. Yeah, not really anything severe going on at the moment. Haven't seen any rotation in the second line right now. It's hard to give an ETA for Corsicana right now because we're kind of in a period of transition where this line is starting to slow down and kind of stall out here. This line is the one we're watching now, and I'm not entirely sure what this is going to look like in the next 10 to 15 minutes here. And lots of folks kind of tuning in and asking, what about this, what about this, what about this, what about this? Give me a few minutes here before you ask about your town, kind of give me a few seconds because I will probably cover it. Yeah, there's a lot of theories on what's going on, but we'll continue to just kind of cover what's happening here. And again, you see this inflow. So that could lead to these storms getting strengthened. And so we'll see what that does here. But it's hard to give an ETA for a lot of areas because we're starting to see this line stalling out and this line taking over. But I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with this one because even that looks a little less organized. We could be looking at this whole section of this storm kind of slowly but surely recycling here. And really what could happen is we could see this catch up to that line, and eventually when this is east of here, we could see that whole line kind of get reorganized there. So, and I know there's some of you that are jumping in to ask, I think this is happening with this line. Let me go ask this guy. And I can't answer every question about, hey, what direction is it moving? Hey, is this theory correct or is that theory correct? Just trying to keep folks informed about what's going on here. And seems like that's usually my YouTube folks, probably from different parts of the country, just watching the weather just because they enjoy it. But we gotta stay focused on the local folks here. I saw someone ask about Scarborough. Looks like the Scarborough Renaissance Festival could be getting some gusty winds here, but doesn't look like the rain is going to reach there, at least not in the next several minutes. And so that's kind of what we're seeing there. And somebody asking about driving to a car garage. I don't know where you're talking about, so I can't really advise you without a location of where you're at. So I don't know. Without a location, I mean, I've got people tuning in from all over the place, so it's hard for me to, I can't really tell you much there. And you're talking about Keller. I mean, you're right in the middle of the storm there. There's nothing severe going on. But I imagine that it's probably hard to see in Keller on the roads. So, I mean, you're right in the middle of the storm now, so I don't think that it's really too big a concern there. And Scott, you're asking about training of the heavy rain there. I don't know if we're going to see training with that. It looks like it's moving, it's displacing much better now. So it is moving much more easterly here, so that is helpful. But again, we're at a period of time where we're kind of seeing this starting to change up a little bit in terms of its direction and its speed. I can't answer a whole lot of questions right now about what it's going to do. It's progressing to the east generally, but I do think that we're starting to see this kind of change up a little bit. Someone asking about Hazlitt. I don't think that Hazlitt is in my coverage area here. So, I mean, you can ask about Hazlitt, but I don't really think I have much to tell you there. Let me see. I forget where Hazlitt is. I don't know if it's just that I'm tired or I'm just not as familiar with that area. Okay, so Hazlitt is North Fort Worth. North Fort Worth, the heaviest stuff is out of there. There's really not anything going on there for that particular area. So Keller, in Keller, you're behind anything anything north of Fort Worth. I mean, the heaviest is out of there, right? So there's not really much to be concerned about. Excuse me, Maddie. Yes, I am in the Waxahachie area, so that's where I'm broadcasting from right now. Uh, so I know that there's, Texas storm chasers. I know that the head guy over there is in Oklahoma. The North Central or North Texas Weather Center guy, I think he's usually in Florida because I think he's going to school out there. So in Florida covering here. Not really sure how that works, but I guess in the age of the internet, you can do whatever you want. But what I am noticing here is in Johnson County, we're getting much stronger eastward motion of all of this. So yeah, starting to see increased, definitely a push here of this activity east into Johnson County, and I'm curious to see what the winds are doing here. So let's take a look at that. You could be looking at some pretty decent wind gusts moving into Johnson County right now. So keep that in mind if you're in western Johnson County here. Pay attention to what is happening in that particular area. And someone asking, is the worst gone in Johnson Crowley area? I would say no. We have this next system moving in here, and so that's definitely going to kind of take over. So it definitely looks more and more like this line is going to be what really dominates our area at this point. So we'll continue to see that moving through. So let's watch this as this moves in. Let me just see if I can get a quick request in here. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this line, we can see this moving easterly here, and I'm going to continue to watch this as this moves on eastward. You see it moving through Bosque County here into Johnson County, and Johnson County, it's definitely moving much more at a much more direct easterly direction. So I think we're definitely going to see some heavier precipitation there, heavier winds with that part of the storm here. So we'll continue to keep an eye on all of this. And in the Glen Rose area, yeah, you're getting pretty heavy precipitation, heavy winds probably right now, lightning and thunder and that kind of thing. And then that's going to continue to move on to the east as well. And yeah, Glen Rose, I mean, you'll have some heavy activity for the next, 20, 30 minutes here. But I think after that, that'll probably be moving out of the area fairly quickly. So for everyone that's just joining in, this is a page, South Metro Weather, we cover between Dallas and Waco, basically. So southern end of the Dallas-Waco market and northern end of the Waco media market. Really, it's kind of an area where neither of those markets really cover those areas well. And so I had a lot of people, that were asking for really localized coverage, and that's been what we've been looking for. Oscar, no tornadoes in this area tonight. Not tonight in this particular area. So we've been good to go there. Yeah, not any tornadoes that have happened here. We have a tornado watch that is in effect until 7 a.m. So far, we haven't had to escalate from that. But I mean, hey, we're hoping that we can avoid that here. That's kind of what we're hoping to get away from. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's been tornadoes in other parts of the country, but not particularly in North Texas here. Not this evening. Now, Northwest Texas, yes, or at least over towards the Wichita Falls area. Up in that area, there has been, but has not really been in north central Texas here in our particular region. So we're continuing to watch this line to see that move eastward. And we were watching this line originally, but you can see that it's really slowed down in terms of its southeasterly motion. So this line is that's going to be the one that pushes through here. And I would say, I don't really have much of a timeline on this, but I would say that's going to be moving through Johnson County over the course of the next hour. And I would say it'll probably, and there's the question, probably be moving into the Waxahachie area. I would say, it's 4:26 now, about 4:30, probably around 5:30-ish for Waxahachie, if not, between 5 and 5:30 probably. Probably around the same for Hill County. This is just starting to move into the Meridian area. So if this continues to move due east here, I would say that'll probably be moving into the Hillsborough area closer again to 5:15, probably 5:30 there. So that's what we have right now. Not a whole lot. And I mean, that's a good thing. No news is good news for the moment because, again, we don't have any severe warnings for this particular area. No severe warnings for the moment. And really not much of anything going on in our particular area. I mean, you see the rain continuing in Johnson County, and then we have the rain slowly but surely making its way into Ellis County. Really not much happening there. And then we will see that moving into Hill County here very soon, slowly but surely here. And then Navarro County still just kind of waiting here. And really, it's going to be hard to know what's going to happen in Navarro County until we see what this line is going to do. There is that tornado watch that is continuing through 7 a.m., but again, up to this point, we really haven't had to escalate past that. So we're in kind of a good position there. I'll tell you, before we ramp things up more, and here's a special, or as that actually, I think we have a flood issue there. Yeah, that's a flash flood warning that has just been issued. So let's get dialed in on that. This is really central and southern portions of Tarrant County, really southern and the southern half of Tarrant County, going into northern Johnson County here for a flash flood warning. And you can see we have this rain coming in, and then this line is kind of stalled here. So that's causing that flood problem there. So if you're in southern Tarrant County, northern Johnson County, and this does include downtown Fort Worth, this does include Arlington and Mansfield here, parts of Grand Prairie, all of that, all the way back into Burleson, Joshua, over into Godley and Crescent. So all this area now included in a flash flood warning here. And so just be aware and be prepared for flash flooding to be an issue for that particular area. So that's just issued here. And that goes on, let's see how far we're going to here. They always put the timing as until 7:30. So this flash flood warning is in effect until 7:30. So that's going to be for about 3 hours there that flash flood warning is in place. And so I'm gonna step away for just the briefest moment to grab a little cup of water here. I'm definitely gonna need that. I can already feel my throat getting a little bit scratchy here. Just been using the on-air voice too much over the last few days, starting to wear it out. So let me step away for just the briefest moment here, go grab a cup of water, and we will be right back with continuing coverage here on South Metro Weather. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. apologize. I had to go grab a cup of water or my voice was absolutely going to bite it. So we continue to watch this line moving fairly quickly through Johnson County, now moving right into Cleburne and Keene and Burleson there, and going to be moving into Rio Vista and Grandview there pretty soon, and moving towards Hill County here as well. We have this tornado watch that continues through 7 a.m. Up to this point, haven't really seen much need for that. Fortunately, not really seeing much on velocity in terms of those areas of circulation. I mean, you can definitely see where we have these stronger winds with this. Oh, you know what? Well, no wonder you couldn't hear me. I'm telling you, man, it's a miracle I'm awake, much less functioning here. So I apologize for that. That's one of these days, I'll be able to pull one of these really crazy periods easier than this. But we continue to watch this line here, and I don't see anything concerning with rotation. We have this tornado watch that continues through 7 a.m., but we're not seeing anything too concerning regarding the the increasing tornado threat that we talked about. Not really seeing that here. So we're we're going to count our blessings and hold on to that, as long as we possibly can here. But we do have this flash flood warning that goes until 7:30 a.m. Parts of Tarrant County, parts of Johnson County here, going towards Dallas County. And really that's where these two lines kind of come through, where the rain has largely kind of stalled here. And it's just heavy rain that's increasing here. So as this line moves eastward, mostly this is going to be to the north, but it is parts of Johnson County that do have this flooding threat here. So as this line moves eastward here, as we continue to watch this, we could be looking at some concern as far as those increasing winds here. We've seen the inflow going into this, and so I'm curious to see how that feeds this storm. We're fortunate at this point that this is coming in at 4:30 a.m. and not 4:30 p.m. when we would be looking at much stronger conditions. So could be looking at more severe weather. So that's kind of the bigger concern there. Okay, getting a report of strong winds there in the Cleburne area, and that's consistent with, again, that kind of that bow shape there of that storm. So that's going to continue to move on to the east. Meridian's starting to get this now. That'll continue on as well towards, in fact, the winds are just starting to move into parts far northwestern portions of Hillsborough, Hill County there. The winds will start to pick up in Waxahachie, at least parts of Waxahachie as well. And 67 already down to one lane with all of the construction in Midlothian to Venus. Don't need another reason for TxDOT to close the highway completely off. The 287 has been kind of a mess for a while there, from what I can tell. So I wouldn't hold your breath. I think 287 is just going to require a lot of patience for a while. I feel like 287 is going to become the new 35, where there's just constant construction and everything there. That's going to be, unfortunately, I think 287 is going to need a whole lot more TLC than it's being given. Oakleaf getting some rain now, so starting to see the rain in the Red Oak area there. And again, this is slowly but surely making its way, and you can see the lift, right? You can see the rain developing off of that outflow boundary. But this line here, this is definitely what's dominating, and could be looking at some drier air coming in after that line. So that could help to kind of dry us out here. And I know a lot of people are wondering what's Sunday afternoon going to look like, because we've been talking about that chance of storms mostly east of our area. And I really want to see how this affects our area, and if we even have an opportunity to recover the atmosphere before the afternoon convection. And because this is moving through a little earlier than we thought, or at least it was, it may not necessarily be now, but hey, that's just kind of the evolving nature of this. As we continue to watch this move eastward, that could be what we're looking at, where we're looking at some of those changes. And Larissa asking about Missouri. This is a north central Texas channel, so I'm not one of these guys that goes nationwide here. I'm just covering north central Texas. I'm kind of geographically limited, at least at this point. Can't say what the future holds, but I have to say I like being geographically limited and not trying to cover an entire country at the same time. I couldn't imagine trying to do that, especially since it's just me. I mean, I don't know how I would possibly do that with the kind of coverage that I have now. But we're watching this line. This is, again, north central Texas between Dallas and Waco. That's kind of our core coverage area. And this line of storms, let me move this over a little bit so you can see it easier past my big head here. And we are watching this, and it's very possible that we could see just kind of a new form line here, and could see this really recycle and congeal into a new line and push through over the course of the next several minutes. But that'll all be the really the, I think, the trend is what I'm trying to say there. Something about a throat spray, so I'll look into that here. So I appreciate that. And how fast is it moving through Bosque County? Looks like it's probably around, probably around that 30 to 40 mile per hour speed here that we've been looking at this evening. Almost done with the worst of it in Keene. So, I mean, it's moving through Keene right now. The lead part of that line is moving through Keene at the moment. So I would say if you're in Keene, just kind of be patient. I would say in the next 20, 30 minutes or so, that'll be moving out. And then, yeah, you may not have to really be too concerned about that going forward. But in Keene, just kind of be patient, and that will start to subside here probably in the next half hour. So let me see if I can get a message off to someone here. Okay, let me get back to another screen so I can monitor that. All right, cool. Yeah, so just started raining in the Royce City area. Yeah, so that line up there in the Rockwall area, yeah, it just moved in there, so that makes sense. But as I say, I mean, we don't have any severe weather warnings at this point, so we're in a pretty good spot. We're not looking at any kind of severe warnings. We do have that tornado watch that continues on for another, 2 hours and 20 minutes here. So that's, yeah, it's kind of what we're looking at. And asking, Kevin, do you monitor storm spotters on ham radio? So, yeah, my colleague and a good friend of mine, Matt, who's on here at most streams, most live streams, he is usually the one he's usually, tuned into the spotters. I've usually got an earpiece, and he's kind of letting me know about the pertinent information. I used to listen in here, but he took on that so that I could kind of just focus on communicating everything on air. Awake Veteran 88, when's your baby due? This is a food baby, so, maybe a couple hours from now. I'm fairly regular, so we'll see what happens there. Heavy rain picking up in South Arlington, and so that's going to be, yeah, you got pretty heavy rain and lightning and thunder and that kind of thing. Jamie, you're asking, has this died down a bit from what you said last night? I'm not really sure what you're referring to there. But I mean, we were watching this, and even, like I say, earlier tonight, last night, I guess, technically, we did have that tornado watch issued, but it's been relatively docile here. And as I mentioned, I mean, we could be looking at this line just generally kind of recycling here. So this could be very intense in the next hour or so as this kind of gets reorganized, but we'll see what happens. And a lot of people asking about Missouri, and this is a North Texas, this is a North Texas channel here. So not really much I can contribute about that area. Yeah, heavy winds, high winds, and heavy rain in Joshua. Um, any ideas about what time is best to drive? Um, let's see. Any ideas what? Yeah, so not really sure about driving from Austin to Waxahachie. I would say, I mean, at least once this is through, right? But I'm not sure what it looks like south of here. Um, Man, a lot of comments about the wait on YouTube. Okay, I guess this is the hour where all the trolls and bots come out. I mean, are these people as sleep deprived as I am? Just can't seem to cope with it. I'm not sure what the deal is. Um, okay, I think Jamie might be last night before you went off the air. It seemed like it was going to be. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of questions about um, what we were going to see today, and really the last few days. I mean, these severe weather events have been kind of evolving as we've gone, and so it's been tough to call exactly what to expect with a lot of these severe weather events. So we'll see what happens, but Plano, I mean, you're pretty close to being in the clear there. I mean, the heaviest has left there. Yeah, Johnson County is under that tornado watch. Um, let's see, Johnson County, yeah, under the watch, and no tornadoes here. I mean, it's just not, uh, yeah, not really too concerned about. Whoa, hold on. No tornadoes here. That's the common theme. A lot of questions about that all of a sudden. Yeah, no tornadoes have made it over here, so not really too concerned about that. Um, yeah, not really sure if anything's going to change for Plano. Looks like this is moving mostly east, so I'm not really too concerned about Plano at this point. Really, from Waxahachie and Cleburne southward, that's where this line is going to be. Oscar, you're asking about a second round. I mean, it's possible that we could see a second round this afternoon, but again, I need to kind of see how this affects the atmosphere before we get there. And so not really sure exactly how to forecast the afternoon, because once this gets through here, part of what is going to make a difference is if all of this energy is far enough east that it develops east of here instead of farther west like we maybe were thinking. So it's kind of a wait and see situation with the afternoon hours. Let's see. We should move through Waxahachie. Why you got to stall over us? Yeah, I mean that's the thing is once this section moves eastward, then yeah, I mean that will kind of help to wrap things up. So as this pushes east, once you're behind this line, that should really be really the last of it. So we can even see that moving eastward through the Metroplex now. So we're definitely getting a much better push here. And let's kind of zoom this out to see a bigger picture of what we're seeing here. Oh, that's helpful. So, I mean, you can see not only are we seeing the dry air moving in, from Keller on down. I mean, we see this eastward motion here, and that's going to be the source of some of the stronger winds. But this could very well be the Pacific front, I think, that's moving through, pushing all of this east. And then, I mean, you can see the rain has gone out farther to the west. So all of this, I mean, the more easterly we have this, is going to be moving through more quickly. Brittany, no tornadoes here. No tornadoes. I feel like I need to put that in a banner down here. We don't have any tornadoes right now. We haven't had any yet. And I see your question about walking your dog in Dallas. I'll get there get there in just a moment. Yeah, Kimberly, I understand being exhausted by all this weather. I definitely am exhausted. So, yeah, that's gonna. I get it. I get being tired. I'm very tired of these storms and kind of need a break here. It's been a long end of the week. Questions about this box? This is a flash flood warning that goes until 7:30 a.m. here. I'm just trying to follow some comments here. Just started raining at 287 and 35 there in Waxahachie. You have to start paying me as much as my therapist. Well, I'm a cheap date. That's the nice thing. You don't have to pay me anything, but uh, yeah. So, and I'm glad I can help with the storm anxiety. I mean, that's part of the reason I'm here. I had terrible storm anxiety when I was a child. So, uh, and Larissa, you're asking about. I haven't said anything about Missouri. I don't cover Missouri, so I can't really help you there. Um, Okay, so heavy rain there in Venus. Yeah, so you're seeing that moving into Venus right now. It's going to be moving right into Ellis County very soon. So right over here in Hill County, that's going to be moving in really now, getting the heaviest of that. So here's kind of dialed into our local area. Um, And Hunter, you've been so concerned about a tornado just for there not to be one. Well, I'd prefer there wasn't a tornado, so count your blessings. It's a good thing. I will say that we do have this tornado watch in place, but so far that hasn't really been needed. I think that this whole line got so disorganized that we weren't really able to see much rotational on that line. So the fact that this whole thing kind of got disorganized and kind of started to reorganize, or if you will, or at least it looks like it's trying to, I think we're in a better position now. So not seeing any kind of rotation, Joy, in Johnson and Hill counties, at least at this point. Um, So let me take a look though at those winds, and we'll just kind of do a quick checkup on velocity, kind of see where things stand. Yeah, not really seeing anything rotation wise in this area. So yeah, not really seeing much of a tornado threat at this point. Not too not too concerned about that. Heavy rain coming down in Alvarado now. Rain coming down in Glen Heights. So yeah, it's kind of where we're at. Most of this, in fact, just about all of this, we've had maybe one or two reports of hail here, but overall, any reports of hail we got were very small reports of hail. So really not much going on. This has been so far fairly underwhelming here. Now I will say this line looks like it could be looking at. Could be intensifying here. You see this line here could be getting more organized, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And you're asking about cover from Dallas to Waco. What's going on in Killeen, west of Waco? I know where Killeen is. Okay, losing track of some some of these comments here. Um, let's try to get a handle on this here. Um, Happy Honey 41 on YouTube is saying that numerous places along along that line reporting damage. Not really for sure what you're referring to there. Not really sure what you're referring to because we haven't really had any damage here as far as I can tell. Aside from maybe a tree limb down or two, but I'm not sure you're talking about the right place. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of lightning in this line. And somebody asked if Waxahachie was clear. It hasn't really even gotten to Waxahachie yet. So hang tight in Waxahachie. It's not really there yet. Yeah, we just had, and I just saw someone mention that. So yeah, new flash flood warning issued for Dallas County here, really most of Dallas County. So that will continue on for the next few hours here. So, yeah, so Forreston, I mean, you can see Forreston here on the map. It's not coming up on the map, but Forreston is between Waxahachie and Italy, and nothing there yet. So, it's here's, I mean, if the storm hasn't moved through there yet, it hadn't moved through there yet. Nothing's really happened yet. So that's kind of where we stand. Shayna, you're saying I'm a saint. I try to be. Obviously, I'm not that good to myself, right? I mean, we've already heard about that all over YouTube, apparently. But you know, I try to be helpful there. Um, let's see. Yeah, haven't gotten any sleep. Yeah, I mean, folks are talking about how tired you are. I completely understand. You know, the night before, I was up early this morning because I woke up and saw that they had elevated the severe weather risk. Fortunately, we didn't get the storms this afternoon, but that did leave our area completely unchecked and very unstable for this line. I think that's part of the reason we probably had to deal with the tornado watch that still goes into effect for another, what, 2 hours at this point? Yeah, just about 2 hours. Um, yeah, so just a couple hours left of that tornado watch, and so far hasn't really been justified at this. Well, I hate to say justified; it hasn't really been required. Haven't seen any tornado warnings or anything. Um, so you know, good to go there. Let me check this message that just came in. I'm checking in with somebody here. Okay, just kind of chatting back and forth with somebody that's about what's going on with this line because it's just, I mean, it's really not that impressive. Now, I will say that from North Richland Hills through Mansfield and Cleburne, of course, again, part of that is that's where the radar is, and so it's kind of hard to see detail there. Um, so, uh, okay, and again, you're and Ennis, can you go back to sleep? Well, Ennis hasn't gotten it yet. It's moving towards Ennis, so I would say if you're concerned about what the storm may do, uh, it hadn't really gotten there yet. So it's really not much to say there. But this line, I mean, it does look like it could be picking up speed, or at least picking up intensity. I'm not really sure about the speed of it. It's definitely slower than it was when we were talking about this thing racing at 50 miles per hour. But we put on the velocity view, and you can see where some stronger winds might be. So that's going to continue on to the east here. Midlothian, Venus, Mansfield, looks like winds could be increasing there. Could be some increasing winds over in the Glenrose area too, and frequent lightning here. So lots of lightning for sure. Yeah, coming down fairly hard in the Venus area. So lots of lightning and thunder in Rio Vista there. So wind as well, and that's from the Vada and Family Podcast, Texas Children's Museum. So they're in Rio Vista, so they're starting to get some of the noise from this storm system. And just to kind of reiterate here, I know I keep saying this, but I mean, this system has not been as intense as it otherwise could have been, maybe that we were expecting it to be. Now, we are seeing some new kind of energy out of this line as it's moving into northern Hill County and parts of western Ellis County here now. So that could be picking up the pace here. But aside from that, I mean, we haven't seen any kind of severe weather yet. We are looking at flooding problems. These are 2 flash flood warnings in parts of Johnson, Tarrant, and Dallas counties here. Part of Parker County there, but aside from that, not really much. Scott Posey asking about the winds that are expected. Definitely not 60 to 70, not right now. We're much closer to 40. I mean, well, let me actually back up and say that for one, the wind speeds were crazy today anyway, even without storms, right? So we kind of have to start there. But relative to the storms, yeah, I mean, we're probably looking at 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. Not really much at the moment. Yeah, I'm fairly confident that Corsicana will get something out of this. That's responding to a couple of questions there. And then finally getting rain in parts of Midlothian. Yeah, it's taken a while, but we're starting to see this part of the line get more organized here. So as that continues on, I'm a little concerned about the flooding here in northern, Bosque. I keep wanting to say Meridian. Meridian is the county seat, but the county is Bosque County there. More concerned about flooding. So we may have to watch for some flash flooding there. Won't be surprised if there's a flash flood warning there at some point. More urban over in Tarrant and Dallas County, so that's probably what justified that there. But we could be looking at some flooding problems there in northern Bosque County because the rain just continues to train there, just the same really in Hamilton there. So Northern Hill County here, Western Ellis County, going to be getting the leading edge of this. And of course, that will probably be moving out fairly soon. And let me just try to knock out some more bots here. Okay. All in a day's work. And Rowlett just stepped outside and said it was raining cats and dogs here. It's raining elephants and zebras. I believe it. That big fat rain, like we talked about, what is it? Forrest Gump is kind of the reference there. Cassidy, not really expecting tornadoes really with this. Not really part of the equation. We have that tornado watch until 7 a.m. just for another couple hours. So far, we haven't really had an issue with that. And I think part of that is the fact that this whole line, this whole complex, as it moved into our area, seemed to kind of stumble. And it just kind of got disorganized. And we're starting to see it maybe get a little more organized here. So we may have to watch it as we go forward. But for the moment here, this whole line kind of slowed down, and we had this new piece from the southwest come in, and everything's kind of fallen apart a little bit. You can barely see the cup there. I mean, it's kind of a turquoise green, but I guess it's enough. But yeah, Scott, you're right. I mean, it's mostly heavy rain, some gusty winds. I doubt there's any hail out there right now. And Jen, you're asking if this is the only storm this morning. I mean, it's a long line. This line covers, it spans the state, but yeah, this is really the only storm action we have going on right now. So we'll watch this as this continues to move eastward, and I do want to see if this continues to get more organized, because that might cause some problems on farther to the southeast. Good lightning and thunder in Venus now. The bubble has burst. Yeah, Venus is, there's not a whole lot protecting Venus from this right now, because you're pretty well inundated by this line here. So we hear it all the time. People talk about how, storms will split and go around. And, what's always funny is that I'll hear people say, well, it splits and goes around Waxahachie and it hits Red Oak. And then people in Red Oak say, well, it splits and hits Waxahachie instead of Red Oak. So, there's always kind of the tit for tat, the back and forth, but there's no splitting anywhere here at this point. Everybody's going to get at least a little bit of rain, I think, from this complex. So it's at this point, the timing is a little bit tough, but it will be moving into Waxahachie fairly soon. So I know Waxahachie's kind of been twiddling their thumbs going, when is this rain going to get here? Well, it's finally starting to move that way. So we're starting to get a little bit more movement on this now. It lost almost all of its organization there for a while. And so we'll have to kind of watch and see what happens there. Thunderstorms just hit Grandview, and somebody say they're right where Johnson, Ellis, and Hill meet. Just now heard thunder. So, yeah, I had someone in Midlothian. In fact, it was Matt saying that he hadn't even heard thunder yet. I mean, there's some weaker parts of this line where it's not near as active, but we'll kind of wait and see. And like I say, I know that there is some concern over this afternoon, and I'm going to have to really see what this does and see kind of how things line up after this system's gone before I can really say too much about this afternoon. So going to need some patience there as far as what to expect. I'm driving through Midlothian now, and you cannot see anything. One of the wipers broke off. That is not good. Hannah, hope you stay safe there. But yeah, I mean, Midlothian, heavy rain there, but I guess there's not a whole lot of, there's a lightning strike there, so I'm sure Matt probably heard that one, I would imagine. Not certain. I haven't heard anything from him yet. Usually when the thunder starts, he starts messaging me. So, Carl, thank you so much for your donation through the Cash App. Greatly appreciated there. Debbie, gonna need it to be nice this afternoon. I have not slept yet. I hear that. I felt that in my soul. I definitely am going to need a lot of rest after this. I've not really rested well since that 5 hour stream Friday. So yeah, I'm gonna need to get some good rest here for sure. Yanni, not really much of a tornado threat right now. Not looking at that at the moment, and we're fortunate there. We have a tornado watch in place. We just hit 5 o'clock, so we've only got a couple of hours left in that tornado watch. But so far, we haven't really needed it. There are winds moving through now, and of course, the red is moving away from the radar. So here's the radar location. So you can see it's moving away from the radar, and we are seeing some brighter colors there in Midlothian and Venus. And so, yeah, it's moving right across 35 now. So there will be some gustier winds there, but not really too big a concern there. And Evie Smith, would you rather have scotch or cash? That's a tough one. That is a tough call. I do enjoy a good scotch. I've got Scottish ancestry, right? So it's kind of in the blood there. So I don't know, but any support you want to give, as always, greatly appreciated. I'm hearing someone asking about San Antonio. Unfortunately, that's a bit far south for our coverage. We usually cover between Waco and Dallas here. Michael, you said you're worried about this afternoon. Do you know about what time? I don't. Really, we're going to have to get this through here, and I'm going to have to wait and see how things line up before I really know how to advise and forecast this afternoon. Really, the biggest question that we've had about this afternoon this whole time is how far west will everything develop? Because it will most likely develop somewhere around our area and push eastward, but how far west does it develop? That's the question. And so a lot of that will depend on these storms moving out. So we'll have to watch and see what happens there. See what's actually, going to happen there. The question about Rockwall, just some rain in Rockwall, just heavy rain, really. Not really much else other than that going on there. But yeah, I mean, from Hamilton on through Meridian to Cleburne and Venus there, that's the line that we continue to see moving through. And so that's going to continue to push eastward through our area. No severe warnings other than the flash flood warnings here through Dallas and Tarrant counties here in northern Johnson County. So not seeing anything too terribly concerning at this moment here. We are seeing this moving into Waxahachie now, so I'm sure most of our Waxahachie folks, Richard Glenn, your trusty phone weather app, who even knows there. Okay, some of the tornado watch has been canceled. Lots of people throwing that. Okay, we'll check that. I imagine the part of the tornado watch that's been canceled is probably the farther west counties that are not even included in anything here. Yeah, so let's see. Really hard to even see there, but let's see if we can get that on the map here. Of course, there's those two flash flood warnings. Okay. So here's what remains of that tornado watch. So Greenville down to Waxahachie down to Waco here in Meridian. That's what's left of this watch. I know it's not your area, but this line changed the prediction for East Texas later today. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. The line, it's not through yet, so I really don't know. We haven't seen what this line has done, so I'm really not sure how to predict everything for East Texas behind this line. But let's get this watch off of here real quickly. And starting to hear, I guess, increasing winds at my location. I'm northeast of Waxahachie. Could be some rain here. Yeah, starting to get the increasing winds near HEB. Now, I will tell you that the tornado watch has been canceled for Johnson County. So the only two counties in our core area that are included are Ellis and Hill County in that tornado watch. And Navarro County is not included in that. So That's kind of where we stand with that tornado watch. They're starting to cancel folks that are behind this line. So that's kind of where that lines up. So the tornado watch has been canceled for Johnson County because the leading edge of this is out of there. Still in effect for Hill and Ellis and Meridian, McLennan, Dallas County there. So this area is still included in that watch, but Johnson County, you have been removed from it. I believe Tarrant County has as well. I need to step away and take just a really quick break here. I'm going to continue to watch this, but I do need to step away for just a brief moment. We're going into hour 2 of this. I'm trying to pace myself because I'm already worn out as it is, but I will be right back with, well, I guess not, because I know that Waxahachie folks are starting to jump in. I'm going to have to step away, unfortunately, but yeah, just stay tuned here. I will be right back with continuing coverage of these storms. Nothing severe right now, but we will have continuing coverage in the next several minutes as this line continues to move through our area. Sorry about that, folks. Had to step away for just a brief moment, but we are back, and we have this line continuing to move through here, just reaching Waxahachie, and you're getting some of the thunder and the heavy rain there as well. The tornado watch continues here, but there hasn't really been any kind of tornado conditions to really worry about here as far as we have seen. That watch will be likely allowed to expire. I was just reading some information from the National Weather Service. They're really expecting the tornado threat to continue to wane over the next several hours. Not that it's really been that much of a concern. I'm hearing that the volume is low. Not really sure what that's referring to or how I could possibly, change that. But let me just check something. I don't know if that makes any difference, but yeah, hearing that the volume is low, hopefully that fixed that for you. Yeah, so this is the line that we have coming through, and throughout the morning, we have seen, let me back up a little bit here. We've seen this line really kind of stumble and kind of recycle and hasn't really been that well organized over our area. This is probably the best organized I've seen it for a while now. But that tornado watch, I'm told, will probably be allowed to expire at 7 o'clock, won't be reissued farther east. And yeah, it doesn't really look like we're going to have a whole lot more to do with that. And there are plenty of lightning strikes here, plenty of heavy rain coming down, some gusty winds there with that as well. But yeah, I mean, you can see it moving through, and we have more heavy rain in Bosque County. I'm really concerned about flooding here, and not sure if the National Weather Service will be issuing that flash flood warning. We do have 2 flash flood warnings for parts of northern Johnson and Tarrant and Dallas counties here. But the good news is that the rain is moving fairly well in Ellis County, so hopefully that can help to kind of minimize some of that flooding there. If we look at the velocity view here, yeah, we're seeing some gusty winds from Mesquite down to Oakleaf and Waxahachie, so could be some gusty winds on the front end of this storm, but not really seeing anything that has me too terribly concerned at this point. Not seeing any kind of rotation along this line, so not really too big a concern at this point. I will say, I mean, it sounds fairly breezy, at least outside of the studio here, and trying to see if I can can't find the earbuds. I don't know where those are. As much as those been jostled, oh, there they are. Here. Oh man. Okay. Just go ahead and get this set up here. Well, if I can get this going, let's try that again. Okay, maybe that'll work. All right. So, yeah, heavy rain in Waxahachie, that area. Heavy rain really along 35 in Ellis County, at least on the northern side. And we'll get back to the reflectivity here, put that back in motion. So this is really just a rain situation right now. So through Dallas County here, down into Ellis County, and then Johnson and Hill County. I will say that the tornado watch no longer includes Johnson County, but does include Ellis and Hill counties. I believe Dallas County is still included in that as well, over to Bosque and McLennan County as well. So basically, if you're behind the line, your severe weather threat, at least for the morning, is pretty well gone. So not really too much of an issue there. Okay, hearing there's a little bit of ping pong size hail in northern Waxahachie. It does look like it's getting better organized there. So I'm not too surprised to hear maybe of a little bit of smaller hail in that area. We'll turn on this vertically integrated liquid, and I'm still not seeing anything really that really substantiates a lot of hail. So yeah, I mean, I guess there could be some small hail there, but that's really going to be the extent of it. I mean, I'm surprised to even hear there's small hail with this. So, oh, I see. Okay. Oh, I see. I read that wrong. Okay, so not ping pong size hail. So probably just some pea-sized hail, falling out of that, if anything. So, Not expecting too much of it. But yeah, hearing some power outages in the Midlothian area, probably just due to the winds here. Of course, we had gusty winds today just due to the fact that we were looking at 40-mile-per-hour gusts without storms. So not a surprise that there's some gusty winds out there. But yeah, Ferris down to Waxahachie to Maypearl there, really getting some gusty winds here. Going to be moving towards Italy and moving into Palmer now, moving towards Ennis and Bardwell. So that'll continue to move in here. And so as we continue to monitor this, we could see some increasing winds there. We'll get back to velocity and see if we get an update there on that imagery. So yeah, the yellows is where you're starting to see some of those stronger wind speeds. And yeah, no signs of rotation at this point. I haven't really seen anything that has me too concerned at the moment. Yeah, Alvarado is behind the heaviest part of this storm. So yeah, as far as the winds are concerned, and really most of this, not really concerned about anything for Alvarado at this point. So that's not really going to be a problem there. Yeah, the squall line around Waxahachie appears to be the strongest. Yeah, so yeah, you're right, Scott. That does appear to be the strongest part of this line, the moving through Ellis County right now. So if you're behind this line, if you're behind the heaviest of this, you're done. Brittany, again, no rotation in the storms indicated. So yeah, not looking at any kind of rotation at this moment. So if you're behind the red here, the heaviest part of this, you're done for the night. Now I will say there will still be some lightning and thunder on the back side of this, but the heaviest of this is this red that's moving through. We have some more of this moving into Hill and parts of Johnson County there. Very stubborn, persistent rain in Bosque County that's going to continue to move on to the northeast. So there's, that's going to be a problem, unfortunately. Could be causing some flooding issues there. But eventually we will be able to get all of this out of the way. And hopefully, I'm really hoping we have at least a few days, at least a couple of days maybe, of calmer weather. It's been kind of a long weekend here. We started out Friday and waited out the storms that never came on Saturday, and then here we are early on Sunday. And but it does look like a more active week here. Now I will say that we get temperatures back into the 70s by Friday, so we at least have a little bit of help in terms of the temperatures and the humidity. I do need to say thank you, Jamie, for the Venmo donation there. That is greatly appreciated. Okay, so autumn, again, it's not, we're not looking at anything severe at this point. There is a stronger portion of this line that is moving towards parts of Johnson and Hill counties, but not really too concerned about that right now. Now, somebody asking about Ennis, yeah, you can see the line moving in. There's some heavy rain and gusty winds moving into Ennis right now, but nothing severe. Have to drive from Dawson to Hillsborough by 6. Will be in the clear or driving in it? Yeah, it's moving that way, so it does look like you'll probably be driving through some heavy rain and gusty winds if you're driving from Dawson to Hillsborough anytime soon here. So again, you can see the storms. They're moving to the southeast. Look at where you are on the map, and this will tell you. You can trust the radar here. That'll tell you where these storms are coming through, and be able to kind of see where those are going. And so question is, how gusty are the winds? We're probably looking at 30 to 40 miles per hour, possibly 50 to 60. I don't know, 40 to 50, I would say, in this part of the storm from Ellis County on through Dallas County. No indications of hail on the radar right now. The red itself does not mean hail. That's not an automatic indication or anything. Red is generally going to be Okay. Red is generally going to be your heavier rain, right? And really, to get a look at the hail, again, we have to go to this vertically integrated liquid. That's going to be the best indicator for us. And I'm just not seeing anything that really makes hail apparent here. So, I mean, you could be getting some small hail here and there, but I'm just not seeing it. Not really seeing that be too much of a problem here. So, I don't think that the radar's being too dramatic or anything. It's just hail's not really too much of an issue at this point. And there goes another update. So Scott, you're asking about a bow echo. I mean, you can see a bit of a bow shape here in the Palmer area to Ferris. So yeah, I mean, you could see a little bit of that there. Yeah, so in the Palmer area, it does look like you're getting a little bit of a bow there. So you could be seeing some stronger winds in the Palmer area. And we've kind of seen that, right? We looked at the velocity view, and that looked like we were starting to see some of those brighter colors, those yellows. So yeah, definitely substantiated with that right now, where we're seeing some of those yellows. So gustier winds in the Palmer area, expect that. Could be 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts there. Not expecting anything too terribly damaging, but definitely, again, that bow shape, those yellow colors, could be looking at some stronger winds moving into that vicinity here fairly quickly. And again, we're not really seeing anything too concerning here in terms of rotation, those kinds of things. We've been watching for that. We have this new system just starting to move into Hill County here, moving towards Whitney. We'll take a look at that. That is moving a little bit more easterly, it looks like now. And yeah, looking at velocity, not really seeing much at all going on with that storm. So very low expectations for most of this activity. I don't expect to see anything severe out of these storms, at least not for the next several minutes here. It looks like this portion of the line in Ellis County could be getting more organized, but for the moment, I just, not really expecting much. I think we had high expectations for this system, but not really too concerned with it right at this moment. I'm just following some comments here. Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing that there's some gusty winds and heavier rain starting up in the Ennis area. So, yeah, just hearing that. And thank you so much, Ricky, for your donation through Cash App. That is greatly appreciated. Yeah, David, you're right. I mean, it is a blessing that these storms are not as intense as they could have been. And, we'll see lightning and thunder in Italy now. Getting questions about Nebraska in the YouTube. We don't cover Nebraska, unfortunately. So we're not... we're just in north central Texas, so yeah, only a little bit of wind in April. Pretty good thunder in Grandview. Yeah, I mean Grandview area, you're kind of in some of that heavier activity right now, and so that's going to cause you to have some of those issues. And yeah, I mean we've the thing is we've had people from all over the country coming in on YouTube. The thing is that Facebook is a little bit more geographically oriented. YouTube, I mean, we're going to get viewers from all over the place, so it's not too, you don't want to chide those people too much, because on YouTube, I mean, there's not the same kind of geographical algorithm so much as there is on Facebook. So yeah, I mean, it's not not too big a concern there. And yeah, and there's going to be plenty of lightning and thunder in this storm system, but it's just, yeah, not just not seeing anything too impressive here. I mean, it's going to sound impressive. It's going to make a lot of noise. Um, uh, okay, hearing about Quinlan, Texas. I'm not, honestly, I don't recall where Quinlan, Texas is. If then I'm showing my ignorance a little bit, but or at least my exhaustion. uh, I mean, Quinlan, Texas. That's all the way out in northeast. That's northeast of here. I'm not sure what Quinlan, Texas would be sounding sirens for. So, I mean, it must be some kind of a you know, I mean, yeah, Quinlan, Texas. I mean, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of concern there, so I'm not sure why they'd be sounding sirens. So if there are sirens going off there, that must be a malfunction or something. All right, let's see. Just trying to follow the comments here. Yeah, yeah. I found it. I mean, we're good. And a lot of people asking, when is this going to be gone? I mean, I would say, by it's 5:30 now. I mean, depending on your location, right? Because ultimately, I mean, it's gonna be in different places at different times. Hadn't even entered Navarro County yet, and we've been doing this for 2.5 hours now. So, Ethan, yeah, I mean, you're under a tornado watch, but there's nothing, certainly not in Maypearl, nothing to kind of create a tornado threat here. So, not really concerned about that in any way. Gusty winds, heavy rain, frequent lightning and thunder. I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to get out of this line, but not anything severe really going on right now. No severe warnings, just the watch that only continues for, about another hour and a half. Palmer, what you see is what you get. Again, the strong winds, gusty winds, really, not even strong winds at this point. I take that back. Samuel Wilkinson, you're telling me you're from Mississippi. We cover North Texas here, so there's not a whole lot of benefit you're going to get from this channel. But Palmer area up to Ferris and on into eastern Dallas County, you're looking at some pretty decent winds there. I don't think this is any kind of damaging winds or anything, but could be looking at some stronger winds on the ground there. So I'm sure it sounds scary and sounds impressive, but these storms are not presently severe. So not really anything too worrisome in those areas. Cindy Villa, no tornadoes in Waxahachie. And Cal McDonald saying some places will sound sirens for lightning. I'm not sure about that. Most places will sound them for very large hail, very strong winds, but usually that's going to be joined up with a severe thunderstorm warning. So I've never heard of somebody sounding a siren without a warning being in place. So that's kind of how that works. But again, at this point, it's a gusty winds, it's some frequent lightning out there, and some heavy rain, and that's about it. I mean, we really are not looking at any kind of severe weather or anything at this point. I really am doubtful. Storm Prediction Center is saying that this is probably going to lose intensity as we go forward, and at least lose some of the tornado threat. So that tornado threat will continue to reduce over the course of the next couple of hours here. And so that's definitely a positive. That tornado watch, I'm sure, will be allowed to expire, if not probably canceled early, to be honest with you, because there's another hour and a half to that. But I imagine that as this slowly moves through, and it's not moving very quickly, but I imagine that Navarro County will eventually get some of this rain and some of these storms coming through. But we'll see possibly what that does. Okay, so flood advisory until 8 a.m. for Bosque, Ellis, Hill, and Johnson. So yeah, this whole area getting a flood advisory, and you can tell that it's slowing down. It's starting to train. This has been pretty relaxed compared to where we have been otherwise. And got some folks asking for some links here, so let me go ahead and just post those one more time here. See if this will cooperate with me here. Waco area, not much different. It's just heavy rain, lightning, thunder, that kind of thing. So not really sure, not really seeing any kind of severe weather there. So Chad, I mean, yeah, you can define severe that way, but when we're talking about severe weather, we're talking the technical terms. Hail an inch or greater in diameter, or winds in excess of 58 miles per hour. When we talk about severe weather, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about how much the storm impacts you personally. That's not the criteria. When we're talking about severe weather, we're talking about the actual criteria there. So that's just kind of what we're referring to. So I will tell you what, I have been working kind of around the clock here just about. Thank you, Rachel, for your Venmo donation. Greatly appreciated there. Scott, you live near Ferris High School. Recently, I heard a siren every time there's lightning. So I wonder, I mean, there are some places where baseball fields will have a unique lightning siren. It's not the same as the outdoor warning sirens, but I think they do have something like that that's a little bit different. And so that's, possibly what that's referring to there. But I'll tell you what, I am going to wrap up the stream for now. I'm going to have to give myself a break because there was the live stream that we had before. Thank you, Rebecca, for your donation through Venmo. Greatly appreciated there. And let me see. Just trying to get these links out there because folks are asking for them. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream here. Going to let myself kind of sit down and take a break, get off my feet a little bit. Thank you, Jenny, for your donation through Cash App. Greatly appreciated there through Venmo, excuse me. But I'm going to continue to monitor this. I'll continue to post these updates. But I greatly appreciate all of you for tuning in. It's an early morning, and so far, this has been much less intense than was expected, and it doesn't look like it's going to change. So I'll continue to post some updates here, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break here, get off my feet. And if we have more severe weather come in, I will definitely bring that coverage to you. But stay tuned to South Metro Weather. The best place to follow the regular updates is through our Facebook platform. And so go follow us on Facebook or on X for kind of those incremental updates here and there. And yeah, stay tuned to South Metro Weather. We have more storms possible this week. It is springtime, a very active one here in north central Texas.